let's jump right into it. Today we're doing a digital forensics deep dive into one of the most intense, multi-layered online feuds we've got on record. We're talking about the conflict between streamer Alexandra Mayers and John Bates, who you probably know as Psyche. Now, what starts off as a fairly standard, albeit messy, dispute over donations rapidly escalates into allegations of extortion, supernatural warfare, and what Psyche's camp vehemently classifies as a targeted campaign of slander by Alexandra Mayers. We're going to follow the digital paper trail to see exactly how these wild allegations actually played out. Let's get into it.
Here is our roadmap for this explainer. 1. Anatomy of a digital feud. 2. The grievance and the gifts. 3. Tactics of forced proximity. 4. Weaponizing the audience. 5. Demons, cats, and chaos. And finally, 6. The perpetual victim cycle.
Section 1. Anatomy of a digital feud.
So, to really grasp this conflict, we have to look closely at our two main subjects. On one side, we have Alexandra Mayers from IRL Newstime Live, who is known for meticulously documenting her online interactions. And on the other, we have John Psyche Bates, who runs an entity called the Cult of Psyche. He heavily relies on online donations, even though he reportedly comes from a pretty affluent background out in the Palos Verdes area. The sheer intensity of the language these two throw at each other is just staggering. Take this quote, for example, where Alexandra actually refers to Psyche as a spiritual and psychological rapist. This really highlights the inflammatory rhetoric that forms the foundation of what Psyche's camp calls a targeted campaign of slander. From his perspective, this is straight-up actionable character assassination. But from Alexandra's, she sees it as a desperate public warning.
Moving on to Section 2, the grievance and the gifts.
You know, the craziest part is that this whole thing originally started during a period of intense, very real grief. According to Alexandra's detailed accounts, right after she lost her father, Psyche quietly observed her online, befriended her, and allegedly began soliciting donations by playing on that exact human vulnerability to gain her trust. And the financial entanglement evolved incredibly fast. Look at this. Early April, she's sending him flowers when he seems depressed. By late April, it escalates to a full $100 grocery run. In May, she's picking up the tab for meals and White Claws. And by June, she's straight up buying him a live streaming tripod. It paints a painfully clear picture of a parasocial relationship that just rapidly morphed into financial dependency right before their massive falling out.
Now, when you bring a hard data into a highly emotional dispute, it always changes the game, right? Because digital feuds run on receipts. So what's the actual damage here? The exact calculated total comes out to $973.48. That is the precise value of all the cash and physical gifts Alexandra states she gave to Psyche. In the live streaming world, this is literally how digital connections are quantified. But the breakdown of this specific number is where the allegations of massive deception start to really surface.
Exactly $600 of that total was in direct cash transfers through Cash App. Alexandra claims that while Psyche was telling his audience these donations were desperately needed to feed and care for his cats, the funds were actually being used to fuel an active meth addiction. She points to his own on-stream admissions of past drug use and his physical appearance as evidence that he was deceiving everyone. And these specific claims that her money secretly funded a meth habit form the absolute bedrock of the intense public allegations she levied against him. It's the core of this entire slander dispute.
All right, Section 3. Tactics of forced proximity.
So, what happens when a creator issues a cease and desist, blocks all direct contact, but the other party absolutely refuses to let it go? Well, this brings us to a really fascinating, albeit dark, digital psychology concept known as forced proximity. Once Alexandra blocked direct communication, Psyche didn't even need to DM her. The transcripts allege he just used live panel shows and paused her old videos on his stream to hurl insults. He knows full well that the hyper-connected, gossip-driven nature of their shared audience will carry his messages right back to her. It's this massive structural flaw in social media architecture that literally forces a victim to hear a narrative without any direct contact ever taking place.
Which brings us to Section 4, weaponizing the audience.
Building on that idea, forced proximity, the design of live streaming platforms allows creators to orchestrate multi-party harassment that totally breaks the fourth wall. It doesn't stay confined to the screen. It leverages the audience to create real, physical danger. And the severe offline escalations documented here are pretty jarring. An associate of Psyche's, a user known as Karen, allegedly threatened to show up at Alexandra's apartment with a firearm. To validate her warnings about Psyche, Alexandra actually dug up a 2014 LA news report linking him to an arrest for narcotics and identity theft. And it gets worse. Panel guests on Psyche's stream actively suggested committing arson against a local Redondo Beach business, Catalina Liquor in Delhi, simply because Psyche had a petty grievance with them. This is where a digital feud spills violently into the real world.
Now, another deeply manipulative tactic identified in the transcripts is something called the auction scam. This is a brilliant, terrifying example of how paranoia and platform user interfaces can literally be weaponized for outright extortion.
The mechanics of this scam, allegedly run by Psyche and his associate Brandon against that user Karen, are remarkably calculated. It goes like this. Step 1. Psyche hosts a public live panel. Step 2. He privately messages Karen, falsely claiming that a rival of hers just paid him $100 for stage time to talk trash about her. Step 3. This manufactured scarcity and threat of public humiliation triggers Karen's anxiety, prompting her to pay Psyche a counter-bribe just to silence the rival. The kicker? The rival never actually paid anything. It's a phantom bid designed purely to extract money based on panic.
Section 5, and this is where things get wild: demons, cats, and chaos.
So now we transition the narrative away from tangible financial grievances and digital extortion scams straight into the truly surreal. This is where the dispute takes a massive left turn from earthly, legally actionable claims, meth use, extortion, property disputes, into wildly supernatural slander claims. Alexandra alleges that Psyche operates a literal spiritual cult and invokes the goetic demon Asmodeus, who is a demon of wrath and lust, to cast spells, drain energy, and spiritually attack his rivals.
And honestly, these supernatural claims even extend to Psyche's pets, which is where things get genuinely bewildering. Alexandria is documented making the astonishing claim that Psyche's black cat, Lenore, was overly affectionate simply because the animal was demonically possessed. I mean, let that sink in for a second. In response to this perceived spiritual threat from Psyche and his supposedly possessed cat, Alexandra reports calling upon the archangels Raphael, Hyza, and Haya to neutralize his dark energy. Invoking actual archangels to combat an overly friendly black cat? You have to admit, that is a stunning and frankly absurd escalation from arguing over a $600 Cash App donation. Finally, Section 6, the perpetual victim cycle.
Pulling back from the day-to-day drama of demons and donations, we really have to analyze the overarching strategy here. What happens when Psyche is actually cornered by community backlash or an official platform warning? Well, his documented pattern of cause and effect is basically a masterclass in defensive manipulation. When Psyche receives a channel strike for violating terms of service, his immediate response on stream is to threaten extreme self-harm. When faced with legitimate criticism, or when his public business address is cited, he pivots instantly to claiming he is being maliciously doxxed. And when a victim completely ignores him, he just escalates the harassment to force a response. He allegedly weaponizes his own vulnerability to maintain complete control of the narrative, evade any real accountability, and frame his accusers as the actual villains committing slander against him.
So, looking at the sheer chaos of this whole situation, the extortion, the forced proximity, the frankly unbelievable supernatural slander claims, we have to ask a much larger question. Does the architecture of our social media and live streaming platforms inherently reward the perpetual digital victim? I mean, are these platforms fundamentally designed to enable and even financially sustain these toxic, inescapable loops just because they generate endless engagement? It's a provocative thought for sure, and one you should absolutely keep in mind the next time you see digital drama unfolding in real time. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Catch you next time.
Bam. W. Oh shit, looks like he's doing meth again.
Excuse
Like
me?
you stop doing meth, it's bad for your brain.
Sorry, let me fix my camera. Hold on. Sorry. What did you say, you dumb bitch?
There he goes back to his boring AI videos. There he goes back.
You're talking about I'm
Alright.
talking. You're on the air, fat fuck. Get out of here. Good God. Okay, yeah, go do gang signs backstage. Just like, keep going. Okay, well, I'd rather watch videos than talk to him right now. What of it, Sig? Here, sit back there and watch. You're a good boy. Oh no.
W.
Oh my God, it's you? You again?
What happened, Psyche? You don't know how to do drugs?
No.
You need an instruction manual?
No, because I don't need to do any. I know how to smoke a vape. That's all I need to know.
I forgot that Psyche only takes suppositories.
Because you put them in. You put them inside of me.
That's the only way that he consumes any sort of medication.
Right. Anally. So what are you doing? Sig?
Meeting Christine's rectum.
Oh. Disgusting.
Chewing on it, it's real gummy.
Gummy? Ooh. Well,
Yeah, I got years of shit going through it. I don't know why you're making a face. You're gay. That's what you like.
I think you turned me straight. Finally did it, Sig. Turned me off of men forever. Thanks a lot. Okay. Well, I have some onboarding, something to watch for everybody. Just watch this carefully. There you go. Okay.
Let's just dive right into this one. Today, we're looking at what has to be one of the most utterly fascinating internal documents you'll ever see. We're talking about an actual, literal bureaucratic audit of something the source material officially calls the broadcast altar. Now, right off the bat, we've got this massive paradox. I mean, what actually happens when a super-structured commercial broadcast operation suddenly has to deal with a totally strange, totally unclassifiable object sitting smack in the middle of its workspace? Well, you get an administrative crisis. And the best part? It's all documented in this absolutely perfect, dry corporate speak.
So here's the exact dilemma these auditors were staring down. Is this thing equipment? Is it a religious artifact, or is it just something else entirely? Think about your standard modern workplace for a second. You've got HR protocols, strict inventory lists, complex tax codes. Now, imagine dropping an object into that ultra-regulated environment that completely defies every single one of those bureaucratic buckets. How on earth does an organization process a mystery box that is clearly part of the everyday workflow, but absolutely refuses to be labeled as standard office equipment?
The document we're unpacking today tracks exactly how the system tried and completely failed to categorize this anomaly.
Section 1. The Workplace Anomaly. Okay, picture this highly formal, deadpan auditor meticulously writing down a total breakdown of logic. It's hilarious, and it perfectly illustrates their first major roadblock. Finding 8.1 explicitly states this object cannot be classified as equipment. Why? Because its principal component is intentionally destroyed as its function, right? Office equipment is supposed to be durable, you depreciate it over time, but this object's entire purpose is to literally be consumed and destroyed. But then, on the flip side, we look at finding 8.2. It can't be classified as a religious site either because, legally and practically speaking, this is the recorded workplace of a commercial broadcast operation. It's a strictly secular business environment. And that brings us to finding 8.3. No third category exists. This is the ultimate bureaucratic dead end, delivered with just absolute straight-laced seriousness. You see, the system relies on a binary. It's either a piece of business equipment or it's a religious site. Because it technically acts like neither of those things, but obviously exists in reality, the administrative framework just breaks. The system has literally run out of boxes to check.
Section 2. The Audit Findings.
Because, when a bureaucracy hits an unsolvable problem, it doesn't just stop, right? No, it tries to manage the absurdity by creating even more paperwork. Finding 8.4 is just incredible. It says, the organization has been aware of the tax implications and has filed that awareness under humorous. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. The organization fully recognizes there are real tax implications for having and operating this unclassifiable altar in a commercial space. But instead of figuring it out, their official, documented response is to literally categorize their own awareness of the problem as a joke. They actually made a file for humor just to stash this tax liability somewhere.
Now, what's really interesting here is that amidst all this tax confusion and definitional crisis, there's also a massive inventory failure. Finding 8.5 plainly states the number of crystals is unknown. So not only do they have no idea what the altar actually is, they don't even know what is on it. The auditors literally just gave up trying to count the crystals.
Moving on to Section 3. Deferred Corrective Actions.
So, every audit needs a response plan. You have findings, you've got to propose corrective actions. Let's take a look at the proposed administrative solutions for this growing mountain of unclassifiable anomalies. We've got a table summarizing the action plan, and I just have to read through these sequentially because the sheer corporate dryness is perfection. Task 1. Establish a crystal inventory. Status, deferred. Yeah, they're still not going to count them. Task 2. Reconcile the 3 spellings of the altar cat. Just let that sink in for a second. The official corporate documentation has 3 different spellings for a cat that guards a broadcast altar, and the urgent task to fix those typos has also been deferred. Task 3. Determine the correct tax treatment of altar candles. And, as we know from the humor file, this too is deferred. The entire bureaucracy is just completely paralyzed.
But then, we hit Corrective Action 4. Continue lighting the candle. The status? Adopted. Out of all the administrative chaos, the deferred taxes, the uncounted crystals, the multiple spellings of the altar cat, this is the one and only action the organization actually officially adopts. They just decide to keep lighting the candle. And honestly, this completely pivots our narrative. Because now the question isn't about how to classify the altar anymore. The core focus of this entire document, and really this whole situation, becomes this. Why does the candle stay lit? Which brings us to Section 4. Why the candle stays lit.
All right, we're moving past the dry bureaucracy now. The source material actually shifts into a section called the benediction, and it gives us this deeply deliberate, almost profound explanation for the altar's true purpose. 3,000. The source drops this stunning fact. Across 4 entire years and nearly 3,000 commercial broadcast transmissions, the archive's internal ritual register hasn't wavered once in how it describes this setup. In 3,000 instances, it has used only one very specific word to define what this object is actually doing.
And the answer is incredibly simple. Not sacred, not decorative, working. This right here fundamentally solves that auditor's paradox from the very beginning. It's not a religious artifact, so it's not sacred. It's not some pretty desk ornament just there to make the broadcast booth look nice, so it's not decorative. The archive's single word for it over 4 years is working. The candle, the altar, the crystals, they are actively performing a job.
The source text strictly defines it as a tool. And if you think about what a tool actually is, well, a tool gets used. According to the benediction, this candle is a tool because it provides boundaries for the work.
It is physically lit at the very start of the broadcast, and it is put out at the very end. You remember that intentional destruction of the wax that confused the auditors so much earlier? That destruction is really just a visual timer for the work itself. It's a tool that brackets a period of intense, focused effort.
Which leaves us with this final, really powerful quote from the benediction. The candle is lit at the start, put out at the end, and the thing it is for happens in between. It doesn't matter that human resources can't categorize it. It really doesn't matter that the tax code has no checkbox for it. The ritual itself creates the space for the work to happen. So I want you to consider your own daily routines. What are the unclassifiable tools or the little unexplainable rituals in your own workspace that help you focus and actually get the job done? Because sometimes the absolute most essential equipment you have is the stuff that defies every single category on the audit.
If you wander into the wrong corners of live streaming today, you hit an avalanche of noise. It is a messy, hyperactive landscape of feuds, inside jokes, and endless talking heads. Take a channel called Cult of Psyche. It sits at a relatively modest 3,200 subscribers, yet the output is staggering. Over 2,600 videos, including live broadcasts that drag on for nearly 12 hours at a time. To anyone clicking on a stream for the first time, the content looks like a void of incomprehensible drama. The panels are filled with screaming matches over petty boycotts, vague threats of doxing, and deeply toxic internet beefs. Curious, this raises a question. Why do these specific, chaotic micro-communities capture people so completely, keeping participants locked in front of their webcams day after day? Brushing this off as digital trash misses the mechanism at play. That surface-level toxicity acts as a smokescreen, obscuring a highly structured psychological trap built to keep everyone involved. We can see the shape of that trap using a tool called Cult Codex. It is a massive AI-powered intelligence archive built for one specific purpose: to ingest, map, and analyze every single second of the Cult of Psyche. The AI Oracle digests over 2,600 broadcasts, analyzing more than 1.6 million transcript segments. It filters this raw audio, tracking thematic signals across the network. By mapping mentions of tarot, the occult, and psychology, a hidden architecture emerges. Applying this data-driven lens brings the picture into focus. The channel stops looking like a collection of random internet arguments and starts functioning as a deliberate, manufactured spectacle. By indexing these specific signals, the Cult Codex acts as a digital ledger. It provides the raw material needed to see if these online interactions are following a deeper, more ancient script. To see how the archive decodes this behavior, we can look at a participant who regularly appears on the channel's panels, a user named Tony. On the surface, the transcripts show Tony operating as a classic troll. He boasts about his thug-dizzle, executing ding-dong ditch tactics, and threatening targeted doxing campaigns. What stands out is the reaction of the host and the wider community. Instead of banning him, they actively praise his intimidation tactics and encourage him to keep pushing the harassment. The behavioral breakdown inside the archive classifies Tony differently than a standard viewer. He is mapped as a pressure operative, someone whose entire social identity is built on seeking status through conflict. Within the closed ecosystem of the panel, aggressive behavior is stripped of its real-world moral weight. Intimidation is simply transformed into highly valuable social currency. The archive translates Tony's raw actions, trolling, yelling, threats, into ancient mythological structures. He is categorized as the chaos agent. He acts as the enforcer, providing the friction necessary to bind the group together against a common enemy. The community's boycott functions as a ritualistic performance. It provides the group with a shared objective and a source of entertainment, regardless of any actual moral outcome. This intense commitment to roles, the enforcer, the goddess, the chaos agent, mirrors modern occult practices. Creating a spectacle so captivating that people cannot look away is, in its own way, a literal form of magic. In the digital age, this manufactured drama proves a core occult principle. The person who controls the community's attention dictates their reality. If you step back from this one specific channel, you see these same dynamics playing out across the entire landscape of internet culture. Modern online personality cults share the same core architecture as the mythological pantheons constructed by ancient civilizations. The roles remain the same, only the medium has changed. Humanity never actually abandoned its need for occult mythology. We simply adapted those ancient rituals to fit webcams, live chats, and algorithmic feeds. The trashy, manufactured drama dominating our screens is not a modern accident. It is the latest vessel for our oldest psychological survival patterns. This is the actual utility of pointing an AI intelligence archive at seemingly meaningless internet drama. Data-driven tools like the Cult Codex strip away the captivating illusion of the spectacle. They make the hidden behavioral code visible, allowing you to see exactly how the strings are being pulled. Identifying these archetypes as they appear on screen changes the relationship between the viewer and the content. The drama stops being an immersive reality and becomes a visible pattern. Exposing this structural code shifts the perspective. The user moves from a participant caught in the drama to an observer who understands exactly how the machinery of the spectacle is.
Consider him to be a spiritual and psychological rapist, unquote. I mean, wow, that is a massively severe accusation, right? And it was broadcasted live to thousands of people by streamer Alexandra Myers, aimed directly at a creator she used to support, a guy goes by the name Psyche. Okay, so let's dive right into this, because what we're exploring today isn't just your run-of-the-mill internet drama. No, it's a meticulously documented case study in digital escalation. It's actually a fascinating and honestly kind of terrifying look at how a simple online falling out can mutate into a full-blown campaign of real-world slander. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to unpack a highly complex online feud to really understand the nuts and bolts of digital disputes. We'll be digging through the source material, pulling from actual transcripts and a formal police incident report, just to see exactly how a severed online friendship somehow spiraled into wild claims of demonic possession, severe criminal allegations, and straight-up real-world harassment. Our focus here is going to be strictly on the documented campaign of slander directed at Psyche by Alexandra Myers. To make sense of this whole chaotic internet mystery, here is our roadmap for today. 1. From friendship to fallout. 2. The accusations turn supernatural. 3. Escalating to criminal slander. 4. Crossing the digital boundary. And finally, 5. Documenting the damage. All right, let's jump right into section 1, from friendship to fallout. So looking at the documented timeline, we see this incredibly stark contrast. Back in April of 2026, Alexandra Myers was publicly telling her audience that Psyche, whose real name is John Bates, was, quote, a very good person, extremely so. But fast forward just a few short months to July, and she's telling those exact same viewers, I wish him the absolute worst, he really is sick and evil. Talk about a 180, right? This wasn't some slow, gradual drifting apart. It was a sudden, totally volatile flip. So what actually triggered it? Believe it or not, the core initial grievance boils down to this exact number, $973.40. In her own broadcasts, Myers strictly tallied up all the cash and gifts, stuff like streaming equipment, groceries, even flowers, that she had voluntarily sent to Psyche over the course of a few months. But the moment the relationship went south, she started publicly characterizing those voluntary donations as literal fraud. She claimed she was being manipulated while grieving her father and aggressively started warning her audience that Psyche was this master manipulator running a digital front for extortion. Which brings us to section 2, the accusations turn supernatural. This phase perfectly illustrates just how bizarre internet echo chambers can get. Mayers didn't just stop at saying Psyche was a bad friend, she actually started broadcasting severe supernatural allegations. She stated he admitted to working with a demonic entity called Asmodeus. Yeah. She claimed he was trying to embody demons to manifest feminine energy, and that he was actively launching spiritual attacks against her and other people. The source material even shows she ran a community poll asking her audience if they thought Psyche killed a cat for a, quote, cult ritual sacrifice. Moving on to Section 3, escalating to criminal slander. If you map out this cognitive leap, it reveals a massive, massive escalation. Look, on one side you have standard, if pretty toxic, online grievances, right? Stuff like being unappreciative, e-begging, blocking people. But then look at what Myers escalated those things into. Active extortion, active methamphetamine addiction, being an accomplice to arson, and most devastatingly of all, repeatedly labeling Psyche a PDF, which is basically internet code for a pedophile. These aren't just spicy internet insults anymore. These are severe, completely baseless criminal accusations. Now, the timing here is absolutely crucial, so let's walk through this timeline. On June 27, 2026, Psyche published a formal written cease and desist demanding that she stop the slander. Did it work? Absolutely not. The very next day, June 28th, literally hours after receiving a firm legal boundary, Mayers published her first explicit accusation that he sexually desires children. By July 11th, she was contacting his real-world property management, and by August, she was dragging his totally innocent family members right into the fray. Okay, Section 4, crossing the digital boundary.
So you might be wondering, how does someone continue to harass a target who has already blocked them everywhere online? Well, the answer lies in a concept that analysts in our sources call forced proximity. Basically, it's a structural flaw in modern social media. When a victim walls off an aggressor, blocking their DMs, banning them from chat, the aggressor just pivots. They use their own audience as a bypass mechanism. They play old clips, analyze the victim's every single move, and broadcast inflammatory claims publicly. They don't actually need to speak to the victim. They speak about the victim so loudly that the internet essentially forces the two back into proximity.
And the police incident report documents exactly how this forced proximity spills over into real life. It notes that on July 11th, Mayers actually broadcasted a prepared statement directed at the legal team of Psyche's property management company out in California. Worse than that, she literally instructed her viewers on exactly what to type into Google to find his full name, his phone number, and his physical home address. This is the exact moment where digital slander crosses the line into physical endangerment. And, according to the incident report, the collateral damage didn't stop there. Mayers allegedly fabricated claims of physical threats, saying in a July video that Psyche sent criminals to assault her at an apartment in Houston, Texas, a place, by the way, the incident report notes Psyche has literally never even been to. She also publicly doxed Psyche's sister, Karen Lyons. She repeatedly broadcasted Karen's name to thousands of people, falsely claiming she was Psyche's legal caretaker, and even told viewers to save her details. She dragged a completely private, uninvolved citizen directly into the crosshairs of a digital mob. Which takes us to our final section, Section 5, documenting the damage. Look, when digital platforms totally fail to protect you, you have to anchor the chaos in reality. And that is exactly what this actual police incident report filed by Psyche does. It's clinical, it's highly structured, and it is meticulously logged. It tracks every single date, every video title, and every severe accusation. When you're dealing with an antagonist who relies heavily on emotional manipulation, overwhelming video output, and constantly deleting their tracks, creating an airtight, offline legal record like this is quite literally the ultimate defense mechanism. So, we've covered some seriously intense ground today, breaking down what is truly a severe case of digital escalation. But I want to leave you with this final thought to take away from this explainer. In an era where forced proximity allows online aggressors to just bypass our digital boundaries entirely, and where totally unfounded slander can actually threaten our physical homes and our families, when the digital block button fundamentally fails, how do we build better architecture to protect ourselves out there in the real world? It's a terrifying vulnerability of our modern internet culture, for sure, and it's something I think we all need to start thinking about very seriously.
Interesting. Okay. Um, well, um, um, I don't know. I think Sigga's the only guest now. Might just down for a few more minutes. And just continue to play some things until somebody once comes up or not.
Cult of Psyche operates as an egalitarian forum designed to investigate extraordinary, controversial, and high strangeness concepts. To navigate this space, members must exercise strict intellectual humility. Independent thinking is a sacred requirement. Every action and decision within the community is filtered through a single prime directive. Does this increase understanding or merely increase conflict? Because understanding is the primary metric for success, participants must detach their personal egos from their arguments. The goal is discovery, not victory. To guarantee open exploration, the community enforces absolute intellectual equality from the moment a member arrives. External markers of status, titles, subscriber counts, income brackets, or political affiliations carry zero weight. Ideas earn influence, not status. Members must place curiosity before combat. Before critiquing an opposing view, you must accurately represent it, or steelman it, and ask clarifying questions rather than attacking the speaker. Extraordinary claims are welcomed from all perspectives. Scientists, mystics, skeptics, and believers share the same space, and no single ideology receives special protection from scrutiny. However, hard behavioral boundaries exist. Cruelty, coordinated harassment, doxing, and framing personal spiritual experiences as medical advice are strictly prohibited. These rules create a highly resilient ecosystem. Ideas face aggressive, continuous pressure testing, while the basic human dignity of the individual speaking remains fiercely protected. Moderation is entirely non-ideological. Moderators act exclusively as guardians of conversation flow, not enforcers of specific beliefs. Violations are handled through an objective 5-step escalation ladder, starting with a gentle reminder, moving to an official warning, a temporary mute, a temporary removal, and finally a permanent ban. That maximum penalty is strictly isolated from standard debate friction. Level 5 is reserved exclusively for actionable offenses like credible threats, predatory behavior, and doxing. By interfering only when necessary and maintaining transparent penalties, this system prevents subjective censorship and ensures no perspective faces automatic ridicule. The entire framework fails the moment loyalty to a specific tribe or personality supersedes the truth. Members are explicitly instructed to never outsource their thinking to experts, internet influencers, or even the cult master. Here, changing your mind is an indicator of strength. Having a mistaken belief corrected is celebrated as the ultimate intellectual victory.
To this explainer of a very good person. We're diving straight into a really fascinating and honestly pretty chilling story today. It uses the ancient, symbolic grammar of tarot cards to break down something incredibly modern, an internet mob. We're going to pull apart the actual mechanics of digital cancellation. But right at the core of all this, we're going to uncover a terrifying truth about why our basic human willingness to trust is both a profound blessing and a dangerous sentence. Let's get right into it. The fool is a blessing and a sentence at once. A person who will not step is not wise. He is only already dead and standing up. This totally flips how we usually think about being naive, right? In tarot, the 0th card is the fool, literally a young guy stepping off a cliff looking up at the sky. We almost always read that as a warning, but our source material insists it's a blessing and a sentence at the exact same time. Every single terrible thing that happens in the story of digital betrayal, it all starts right here, with a simple willingness to step off that cliff of trust. The main guy in our story doesn't start off as stupid. He just starts as someone willing to believe the air will actually hold him.
Part 1. The Sentence of Trust. So let's set the scene. Imagine a lonely 45-year-old guy living on the foggy side of town, struggling to make rent. He spends his nights as a late-night tarot streamer,
broadcasting to a modest little room of maybe 400 people, calling himself the Hierophant. Then, out of nowhere, in the dead of night, his quiet world gets pierced by this beautiful song sent by a powerful stranger. A message pops up, a link, a blue circle for a photo, and the words, "Loved that. Good night." He clicks it, and just like that, he leaves the door wide open. It's important to realize this wasn't some immediate, obvious trap. To a practically invisible man, it felt like an absolute lifeline. This stranger, who, by the way, had a massive following of her own, started funneling his stream to her audience. We're talking morning bagels ordered from states away, texts saying, "I love you." And perhaps most incredibly, she consecrated him in front of thousands of people, literally calling him a very good person, extremely so. I mean, think about it. For a lonely guy, having someone hand you back your own face and tell you it's a good one, that is intensely intoxicating. But, as we're about to see, building a foundation entirely on someone else's validation is deeply, deeply flawed. Which brings us to part 2, the struck tower. This is exactly where that sentence of trust begins to be carried out. When the betrayal finally hits, it isn't some sudden freak storm out of nowhere. No, it's the collapse of a false foundation that was built on this hidden, totally one-sided ledger of usefulness. The source reveals this stranger didn't just know him, she used him. She used him for traffic, for warmth, and to play the role of the grand savior. The whole relationship was just a mirror for her, and hey, mirrors don't love you back, they just give you your reflection, right up until they break. The tower. The struck tower. The disaster is not the lightning. The disaster is the false foundation that was always there. This redefinition of the dreaded tower card is absolutely crucial. Usually, when people pull this card, they're terrified of the lightning bolt. But this explainer anchors our whole understanding of algorithmic cancellation in a totally different truth. The lightning isn't the disaster. The lightning is literally just the truth finally hitting a relationship that was doomed from day one. That false foundation, it was poured the very second he accepted that sentence of trust. A tiny misunderstanding over a piece of art he posted was literally all it took for the lightning to strike and for her to just decide it was over. First, keeping bad company. Second, running a cult. Third, danger to the young. Fourth, the worst word. To completely ruin him, she didn't just drop one massive claim. Instead, she fed the internet crowd rung by rung on this insane ladder of escalation. It started with, "Oh, he keeps bad company." Next thing you know, his tiny little stream is somehow a cult. Then that supposed cult is suddenly framed as a danger to the young. And for the grand finale, she uses a rehabilitated proxy to drop the worst possible word, predator, directly onto his legal name. Weaponizing the very real, serious trauma of child safety just for cheap internet clout is beyond cruel. And the wildest part? She did the whole shebang without a single shred of new evidence. The accusation wasn't a factual statement. It was just a bottomless appetite that needed constant feeding. Part 3, the devil's open cage. Now I need to look at the actual anatomy of the mob that executes a digital cancellation. Because remember, the accuser just builds the voting booth. The mob is the entity that actually shows up to cast the votes. The devil. A cage you could walk out of, but choose not to because it feeds you a righteous version of yourself. This is such a brilliant redefinition. In a classic tarot deck, the devil card shows two people chained to a beast. But if you look really closely at the artwork, those chains are completely loose. They could just slip them off and walk away. Our source points out that an internet mob doesn't actually operate out of pure malice. Real cruelty takes effort. No, a mob runs on the incredibly relaxing comfort of being told exactly who the monster is. The door to the cage is wide open, but the mob chooses to stay put because feeling righteous, that's a meal that feeds the ego perfectly. 90. Okay, 90 might not sound like a huge number for the internet, but let's put that into perspective. At the absolute peak of this frenzy, she posted a digital poll literally asking if our protagonist was a monster. 90 casual strangers clicked a button to vote on a living human being's soul, probably right between checking their email and ordering takeout. It perfectly hammers home just how terrifyingly banal and mechanically cruel online judgment really is. It asked absolutely nothing of them. No evidence, no personal risk. Just the warm, fuzzy click of belonging to an angry crowd. The renaming, from a real name to a mother's son to a coined nickname. To keep her mob fed while dodging platform filters and potential lawyers, she systematically stripped away his humanity. She constantly renamed him. First, she attacked his actual name. Then she reframed him as just his mother's son, or his sister's responsibility. Finally, she completely reduced him to a made-up, coined nickname. Why? Because a real person can hire a lawyer. A coined sound cannot. It is honestly a masterclass in making sure the poison can keep flowing without any real-world interruptions. Part 4. The scale over the sword. So what do you do when the mob crosses the line? And let's be clear, they absolutely did. She broadcasted a map of his physical home address to her followers, an address he had given her in total blind trust. She even dragged his dead father into the narrative just to use as a prop. How on earth do you survive something like that without just completely exploding? Justice. Not mercy or vindication, but cold, exact, indifferent measure. Our source looks to the justice card for the answer here. Now, in this context, justice isn't about some cinematic victory, and it sure isn't about mercy. It is about cold, exact, totally indifferent measure. The sword of justice points straight up, and it is double-edged. The absolutely terrifying discipline it takes to survive an internet mob is learning to put your own bare hand on that blade and keeping the record completely honest, even when it cuts you. He really only had 2 options. Option 1, the sword. He could fight back, go live, scream at the injustice, and weaponize all those old affectionate messages to burn her reputation to the ground for an afternoon. But swinging the sword, that just creates a 2-monster story. And man, the internet mob loves a thrashing, screaming villain. So instead, he chose option 2, the scale. He sat down and built a quiet, meticulously honest folder of receipts. The bagel orders, the I love yous, the definitive proof that she never actually feared him. And here's the absolute kicker. To keep that scale truly honest, he included his own faults. He actively documented his own foolishness. By doing that, he completely starved the mob of the unhinged, defensive reaction they so desperately craved. Part 5. The Hanged Man's Victory. The climax of this whole ordeal actually doesn't happen online at all. It happens in the cold, flickering fluorescent light of a real-world police station. Armed with a solid year's worth of proof, he finally takes his honest folder of receipts to the authorities. That speech, that's a civil matter, sir. Talk about a gut punch. Those words, spoken by a tired but decent police officer, bring this absolutely crushing realization. The machine that makes you a monster, the internet, the algorithms, the mobs, runs on entirely different tracks than the legal machine designed to unmake you. The civil courts, they're agonizingly slow and incredibly expensive, but the internet mob, it's instantaneous and it's totally free. And right now, only the mob's machine is running. He was a fool holding the perfect, shiny key to a door that simply did not exist. The Hanged Man. Surrender that is not defeat. Winning by hanging so still that the mob gets bored and goes home. Standing out in that police station parking lot, he essentially embodies this card. The Hanged Man shows a person suspended upside down, completely still, not struggling, with a glowing halo of peace around his head. It is the ultimate representation of surrender that is absolutely not defeat. Instead of thrashing wildly against the ropes, which is, let's be honest, exactly what his accuser wanted because a thrashing man looks guilty, our protagonist chooses the agonizing discipline of non-reaction. He serves his sentence of trust. He hangs completely still. He logs off. He stops refreshing the tab. And by just hanging there, perfectly still, he starves the digital machine of its only remaining fuel, his own panic. The survivor's choice. So we finally reach the far end of the dark, looking at what actually remains after the roaring fire of a cancellation inevitably burns itself out. The star card. The fire is gone. The stars finally appear. Kneeling by the still pool, pouring the water back. In the tarot deck, the star comes immediately after the utter destruction of the tower. The fire is gone, the smoke clears, and out in the pitch black, the stars finally appear. The image is of a figure kneeling by a pool, pouring water out of 2 jugs. This metaphor shows us what surviving the fire actually looks like. It isn't about being perfectly vindicated in a court of law or forcing the entire internet to admit you were right. True survival is about retaining the water in your jug, keeping your humanity, your core capacity for trust, and actively choosing to give it away again. It's about not hoarding your trust just because you survived a drought. A very good person. Extremely so. This right here is the ultimate victory of the story. The protagonist reclaims this original, warm judgment for himself. The mob, fully driven by the accuser, tried everything to grind him down into the exploding, vengeful monster they insisted he was. But his resistance, day after brutal day, was simply declining to become it. He took the phrase "a very good person" right out of her hands. It was no longer a title she got to magically grant or revoke. It was a choice he made, completely alone, every single morning, by what he steadfastly refused to become. When the fire comes for you, will you still have water to pour back? If you have ever been named a thing you are absolutely not, or felt that awful, burning pull to prove an internet mob right by how angrily you answer them, I want to leave you with this final thought. When your sentence of trust is weaponized against you and the false tower falls, will you still have water left in your jug? Will you still have the grace to step off the cliff and remain the fool?
Burning myrrh in the flame, a voice without a body is calling my name. The veil draws open, the old world is gone. A feather cuts the darkness and a new sun dawns. Cairo beneath a blood-red moon, a pen strikes fire in a shuttered room. An unseen current enters the hand, writing the law no throne can command. The idols tremble, the old kings fall. A child with a crown walks through the wall. No chains in heaven, no masters above, only the star and the orbit of love. I crossed the desert carrying doubt. I heard the silence thunder out. A new aeon is rising. I can feel it in my bones. Every woman, every man, a constellation of their own. A new aeon is rising. Aeon is rising. Let the sleeping stars ignite. Let the sleeping stars ignite. Know your will and claim your name. Claim your name. Carry love into the night. Tear the veil away. Bring the newborn day. The wheel is turning on and on. The old age dies, the new comes on. The tree is burning without being consumed. 10 gates opening inside the room. Mercy and power, the wand and the blade. A ladder of lightning through shadows is made. Death is a mouth at the edge of the known. The abyss asks whether you stand alone. I gave it my mask, my hunger, my crown. It swallowed the false, but the star wouldn't drown. From beyond the mirror, fierce and bright, a winged voice answered in the night. A new aeon is rising. I can feel it in my bones. Every woman, every man, a constellation of their own. A new aeon is rising. New aeon is rising. Let the sleeping stars ignite. Let the sleeping stars ignite. night. Hold the center, become the light. Not every hunger is holy desire. Not every freedom survives the fire. Will is no whim and love is no cage. They are the keys to the unwritten age. I am not dust beneath a throne. I am a star with a course of my own. You are not lost and we are not small. The infinite lives in the heart of us all. Let Isis awaken. Let Osiris sleep. Let Horus arise from Listen, Linda, don't get it twisted. Joni's the friend you're lucky you listed. Smoke through a keyhole, light through the dark. Kind in her heart, but fire in her spark. She'll sit right beside you when nothing feels right. Turn your worst day into one perfect night. She knows when to listen, knows when to speak, knows how to find you whenever you're weak. One honest word, one look that says when. You know she would do it all over again. Oh, Joni, loyal and true. Great talks at midnight, laughing with you. When the whole world says this is the end, she dusts off her crown and rises again. Oh, Joni, steady and strong. She makes you feel like you've always belonged. Through every beginning, wherever it ends, life gave me Joni, the best of all friends. Listen, Linda, here's what I mean. She'll tell you the truth, but never be mean. She knows every story, the old and the new, the dreams you abandoned, the storms you walk through. She remembers your heart when you've lost it somehow and says, you survived, don't surrender it now.
tone. Notice the gestures often caught on the red carpet, a singer covering one eye, or a head of state sharing a grip that looks more like a ritual than a handshake. These same symbols appear in our pockets. The disembodied eye watching from the top of the pyramid on a dollar bill points toward an interconnected system of symbols that spans centuries. For those tracking these patterns, the trail leads back to one organization, the Secret Fraternal Order of Freemasonry. Publicly, the Masons appear as a network of local lodges, aging men in aprons who fund children's hospitals and run local charities. This diagram outlines the structure of the order. The charitable exterior serves as the wide bottom layer of a hierarchy designed to satisfy the public. To find control, believers look past the local lodge, climbing the pyramid into the restricted degrees of the initiated. The middle tiers of the pyramid function as a multi-level screening process. This is a filter used to vet politicians, corporate leaders, and Hollywood stars before they reach the top. Control is maintained through a series of blood oaths. Initiates swear to have their throats cut or their tongues torn out if they ever reveal the secrets shared within the lodge. The physical space of the lodge reinforces a dualistic worldview. This checkered floor symbolizes a space where traditional morals are balanced and eventually reversed. High-ranking members reaching the 33rd degree, seen here on the sash of Albert Pike, reach a level where the theory claims traditional iconography is abandoned. This filtering system ensures that the people managing global institutions have already agreed to compromise their previous moral framework. At these levels, the order allegedly reveals the royal art, a hidden religion based in witchcraft and Luciferian philosophies. Esoteric philosophies from figures like Aleister Crowley are integrated here. The eye in triangle symbol on Crowley's hat visually mirrors the imagery used across the order's hierarchy. High-ranking initiates are allegedly required either oaths to display their presence in the public sphere through specific signals. For modern musicians and celebrities, this manifests as the all-seeing eye, covering one eye, and hand gestures that signify the number 666. Historical leaders and heads of state used a different signal, the hidden hand, where one hand is tucked into a jacket or shirt to acknowledge their membership. In this worldview, these markers are functional signals. They serve as public acknowledgments of a hidden power structure operating in plain sight. At the very top of the hierarchy is the capstone. This represents the fulfillment of the great work, the long-term objective mentioned in esoteric literature. One primary objective involves completely replacing our traditional morality with a new system, one based entirely on a survival of the fittest law of nature. The second objective addresses a world moving toward automated labor. As people become redundant to the economic system, the plan allegedly calls for a massive reduction in the global population. Physical evidence of this goal was carved into the Georgia Guidestones. The first instruction on the monument demands that humanity be maintained at a population under 500 million. This great work describes a transition toward a centralized one-world government, the New World Order. This sprawling mega-conspiracy remains resilient because it attempts to answer the most difficult questions of our time. It takes the real-world anxieties of extreme wealth inequality, of rapid secularization, and of automation, and projects them onto a single identifiable group. It thrives because it replaces random chaos with a sense of design. It suggests that the world's problems aren't accidents, but parts of a dark, unstoppable plan that only the believer has the vision to see. internet is built on arguments. Most of the time, digital beefs start and end as text on a screen or raised voices on a stream. But there is a specific threshold where venting stops and documented criminal intimidation begins. During a recent live broadcast, a creator named Alexandra Mayers targeted two individuals known online as Bates and Psyche. This wasn't a standard airing of grievances. It was a high-stakes confrontation unfolding in front of a live audience. To understand why the broadcast spiraled, we have to look at the immediate catalyst. Mayers was mourning the recent loss of her father, a traumatic experience where she held his hand in hospice as he passed away. Compounding that grief was a deep financial frustration. Mayers detailed sending unreciprocated Cash App donations and over $1,000 in physical equipment, including a microphone and a tripod, to these targets, leaving her feeling exploited. While her grief and financial frustrations are documented, leveraging a broadcast platform to weaponize that pain creates a public ledger of actionable threats. The broadcast quickly shifted from venting about money to issuing specific ultimatums of physical violence. Mayers told her audience that if she decided to go crazy, she would track these individuals down and beat the living hell out of them. She described an extreme hypothetical of being sentenced to the electric chair for her actions, claiming she'd still consider the violence a job well done. Moving from vague anger to graphic, specific descriptions of murder signals a dangerous break in digital boundaries. Beyond the promises of physical harm, the broadcast focused on methods of psychological terror designed to dismantle her target's daily lives. Mayers outlined plans to disrupt Bates's everyday routines, promising to target him at his local McDonald's and his neighborhood liquor store. These threats of constant proximity were intended to achieve one specific goal: forcing Bates to move out of his current home. She also threatened collateral damage, intending to dox his family members and specifically target relatives working in law enforcement. Targeted doxing bridges the gap between the screen and the street, turning everyday storefronts into sites of permanent fear for the victims and their families. To justify these statements to her audience, Mayers relied on a specific psychological framework. She minimized the legal risk, telling viewers her zero criminal history would result in a mere slap on the wrist. She then co-opted concepts like standing her ground, reframing preemptive violence as legitimate self-defense. Chillingly, she assumed that a jury would automatically acquit her, simply because of the emotional trauma she was experiencing. This creates a belief system where personal trauma functions as a legal shield, convincing the individual that their pain grants them total moral and legal immunity from the law. Mayers wasn't speaking into a vacuum. The live digital environment played a critical role in allowing these threats to be broadcast unchallenged. Her co-host and live audience formed an echo chamber, passively validating her hostility instead of attempting to de-escalate the situation. While a live stream feels temporary, the data is permanently archived. Mayers herself acknowledged this reality, stating that nobody's ever really anonymous. The legal reality is straightforward. Profound grief and online disputes offer no protection against charges of criminal intimidation. Broadcasting threats doesn't resolve a grievance. It creates a public ledger of intent that traps the creator in their own legal crosshairs.
Okay. That's pretty good. Hi, Lenore. What are you doing? Hi, Lola. I see you over there. Lola's laying on her bed. You're laying on your bed over there, Lola. I see you. Lounging. Here, Lenore. Lenore. You're just grooming yourself? What's going on YouTube? I mean, it's like, it seems kind of quiet right now. I don't know why it's quite so quiet. Man, I don't see anybody really on. Let's see. I mean, Anybody on? Let's see. I mean, no. And nobody else. I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't get. I had a nice chat today. That there's like over 50 people in the chat today. Might just be better in the daytime, you know. But we'll see till another 20 minutes. Yeah. Hi. I'll play pretty. Something pretty. You're here. Hi, Lava. Listen to this beautiful song. Hi.
श्रीबगलामुखी कीलकस्तोत्रम् हिंकारवाणे रिपुददलने घोरगम्भीरनादे हिं हिं ह्रीङ्काररूपे मुनिगणनमिते सिद्धिदे शुभ्रदेः ब्रों ब्रों ब्रोङ्कारनादे निखिल रिपुघटा स्फोटने लग्नचित्ते मातर मातर नमस्ते सकल भयहरे नौमि पीताम्बरे त्वाम् क्रौं क्रौं क्रौमीशरूपे अरिकुलहनने देहकीले कपाले हस्रौं हस्रौं स्वरूपे समरसनिरते दिव्यरूपे स्वरूपे जौं 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 जातरूपे जहि जहि दुरितं शम्भरूपे प्रभावे कालिकं कालरूपे अरिजनदलने देहि सिद्धिं परां मे हस्रामश्री च हस्रै त्रिभुवन विदीते चण्डमातण्ड चण्डे ऐक्लीं सौं कौलविद्ये सतत शमपरे नौमि पीतस्वरूपे द्रौं 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 दुष्टचित्तदलन परिणत बाहुयुग्मत्स्वदीये ब्रह्मास्त्रे ब्रह्मरूपे रिपुदलहनने ख्यात दिव्य प्रभावे ढङ्कारवेशे ज्वलन प्रतिकृति ज्वालमाला स्वरूपे धारयन्ति निपुकुलरसनम् उद्गरं वज्रपाशं डाडाडाडाकिन्याद्यैडिमकडिमडिमडमरुकं वादयन्ति मातर मातर नमस्ते प्रबल खलजनं पीडयन्ती भजामि वाणी व्याख्यानदात्री रिपुमुख खनने वेदशास्त्रार्थपूतं मातश्री बगले परात्परतरे वादे विवादे जयं देहि त्वं शरणागतोऽस्मि विमले देवी प्रचण्डोद्धृते माङ्गल्यवसुधासु देहि सततं सर्वस्वरूपे शिवे निखिलमुनिनिषेव्यं स्तम्भनं सर्वशत्रोः शमपरमिहि नित्यं ज्ञानिनां हार्दरूपम् अहरहर निशायायः पठे देवि कीलम् भवति परमेशो वादिनां भग्रण्यः
I know. Oh, I tried to send notifications, but I think I might have posted like a couple lives earlier. I think you can only post 2 lives a day or something like that, and so it doesn't come out the 3rd time. So maybe that has something to do with it. But I mean, I used to end it a lot more than this. But here, how do I take this off? Wow. Turn this off. Okay, perfect. Okay. Hi, Lenore. Can we move over here when I'm just rubbing on you? Who's Lenore? You see up there on my back? Hi. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Everyone spread the word, like, but I might need a little help spreading the word. Sharing the live. Let everyone know, hey, come over here. Then everything will kind of take care of itself. But I do have my memberships back. I do have oh shit, I have super chats and Cash App and anything for you, like a service. I'm here. Otherwise I kind of go by my own schedule. Oh my gosh, there's a door. So you're kind of disappointed. Hi, how are you? Oh my gosh. You're sitting up there. How are you? Yeah, so I mean, it's like, so yeah, today Beta, I guess INX was mad at me again, and then so, because I guess I asked her to go on Beta's, and she's like, well, Beta didn't want me there. Beta did, and then they were kind of nice to each other, and so she came on Beta's today. It was kind of sweet. Like, it's like, of course, it doesn't ever work out completely, but it's like, at least it's like there's steps in the right direction. I would say. But yeah, so I talked to her and stuff. But I haven't seen her since then. Hi, Lenore. Hi. I think some people got scared off by that dolphin video. That was not abusing a dolphin. That was a dolphin abusing a woman. And I mean, it's like she had a good sense of humor about it and everything. I mean, but it's not right to train dolphins to do that. But I thought it was funny. But maybe not. It's funny. Go put on a cape and be super mad. Yeah, go put on a cape and be super mad. Hi, baby. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I was like, she's like, oh, she started exposing my text message. I'm like, well, go ahead. I mean, it's like, I don't say bad things in text messages. Like, I don't. Even the ones she posted weren't bad, but we do make up in it. So I don't want to, like, I think she's like, someone that people like look at as like, oh, you can weaponize her, point her in a certain direction, she'll go explode. So I feel bad that they do that. Hi, what are you doing? What are you doing? Oh my gosh, I'm wearing a beautiful cat. Oh, so yeah, I've been doing a lot of these reports. So they're like, yeah, always. See what this one is. Oh, here's something outside. 1 second. We're back.
Follow any community-driven spaces online, you already know just how incredibly messy they can get, right? I mean, it feels like there's a new fallout, a sudden departure, or some massive public feud literally every single day. So today we're unpacking the unwritten rules of internet etiquette. We're going to dive deep into the philosophy of internet personality Kate, specifically looking at her take on online drama. In a recent stream, she laid out this surprisingly structured approach to boundaries and behavior. She essentially diagnosed exactly what makes these spaces so toxic, and more importantly, she broke down exactly how she believes adults should be navigating them. So let's get right into it in this explainer.
Just to keep things moving, we've split today's agenda into 3 main sections: stepping away from toxicity, the need for attention, and the ethics of exposing.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, stepping away from toxicity, and this personal shift Kate went through. Now, before Kate starts analyzing everyone else in the community, she actually does something really smart. She anchors her own authority on the topic by pointing to her recent track record. She proves she's actually practicing what she preaches. She says, and I quote, "I have not spoke to thou who shall not be named in like weeks now." That's good growth. By actively choosing not to engage with people she views as toxic, I mean, she even keeps them nameless just to avoid sparking new drama, she's drawing a literal line in the sand about her own personal evolution.
And honestly, the tangible real-world results of this mindset shift are incredibly impressive. Since she deliberately stepped away from the drama, Kate notes that she's lost nearly 200 pounds, which is huge. She says she's feeling absolutely fantastic, she's not crying or dwelling on negativity anymore. Instead, she is actively blocking out that toxicity and bringing strictly positive energy into her 44th year. She connects this deliberate avoidance of online squabbles directly to these massive, life-changing improvements. It really builds a compelling case that, hey, ignoring the noise actually pays off in the real world.
But here's the thing. Finding your peace doesn't necessarily mean staying quiet forever. Kate makes this major pivot and declares, "Nobody cares about my feelings? Well, you're going to hear about them." It's this fascinating transition, right? She's moving from just protecting her peace to confidently and completely unapologetically sharing her unfiltered observations on the rest of the community. She set her boundaries, and now she's totally ready to critique what's happening outside of them.
Which brings us to section 2, the need for attention, and her critique of the chat rooms. So with her own boundaries locked in, Kate shifts her focus outward. She starts observing how other community members behave when they're desperately seeking validation. And she draws a very hard line between genuine community interaction and what she bluntly calls desperate and bored behavior. For example, she brings up a regular chat member known as Thing That Is, and while she admits she kind of has a soft spot for him, she openly scalds him for desperately hanging out in random, toxic chat rooms with degenerates. She's really questioning the mentality of folks who frequent toxic spaces just because they're bored and desperately need an audience somewhere, honestly, anywhere.
And this desperate need for an audience, it feeds right into what Kate diagnoses as the fake farewell archetype. She looks at figures like Crystal Ann, who go and announce this grand dramatic departure on a community tab just to manufacture drama. They fully expect everyone to obsess over their absence. But Kate delivers an absolutely brutal assessment here. She says when these people leave, literally nobody talks about them. Nobody cares. And eventually, they just dip out again because they simply don't have the mental fortitude to actually handle the space they keep trying to force themselves back into.
Ultimately, she sees all these behaviors as just symptoms of a larger disease. For Kate, online toxicity isn't just about people being mean to each other. She views it as the direct result of individuals lacking the mental fortitude to navigate community dynamics. And that lack of resilience, it leads to these erratic, attention-seeking performances. She doesn't see the constant drama cycle as some epic clash of titans. She sees it as a symptom of older community members acting out just to get validation from a computer screen.
So that begs the question. If erratic, attention-seeking behavior is the core problem, how should adults actually handle an online fallout? It's one thing to point out how others are messing up, but what's the actual right way to manage a fractured internet friendship? Let's dive into section 3 to find out the ethics of exposing and Kate's philosophical code. This brings us to her definitive rules for managing disputes. Kate focuses heavily on loyalty and privacy when relationships inevitably break down. She lays out this strict 3-step ethical code for maturity. Rule 1, keep disputes strictly between the two people involved. Rule 2, never, ever leak private DMs to the public. And Rule 3, do not act out of spite or vindictiveness. Referencing her observations of community figures publicly blasting each other, she counters all that mess with this highly structured approach. To her, true maturity means keeping the drama offline. She harbors an absolute distaste for the modern exposing culture. As she puts it, this whole exposing thing, just because you're not getting along anymore doesn't mean you're going to go and blast DMs. It doesn't matter how badly the relationship deteriorated, weaponizing private moments for a public audience crosses a fundamental ethical line in her book. Leaking private conversations for public consumption, it's just a terrible look for adults, plain and simple. And that leads to Kate's ultimate thesis on online drama, which comes down to this one thought. If you cared about someone and things end, you shouldn't be vindictive. For Kate, acting out of spite completely negates any genuine care that might have previously existed in that friendship. If you truly cared about a person, your respect for that past bond should absolutely outweigh your current desire for revenge or temporary internet clout. Which leaves us with a really fascinating question to chew on. Does the way we handle a fallout reveal the true nature of the relationship itself? Kate's philosophy suggests that your behavior during an online breakup is the ultimate test of your character. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Take a moment today to think about how you
Happy birthday, Ghost! Woo! Everybody hide your girlfriends, hide your energy drinks, hide your panel link. He's online. at 2:45. Bought the whole panel virtual tee. 5 red flags, nah, make it 10. He'll crash out, then apologize again. Walks in smooth like, what's the debate? 5 minutes later, mine's there full of hate. Everybody laughing, nobody knows how we still got powder on his clothes. He ain't late, he's dramatically delayed. He ain't broke, he's financially displayed. He ain't flirting, he's conducting research. If she's breathing, he's at work. Hey ghost, happy birthday king. Buy another round, let the chaos sing. Crash out Monday, crash out Tuesday. Wednesdays therapy, Thursdays who me? Everybody dancing, everybody toast. Long live the legend, happy birthday ghost. Hey ghost, happy birthday king. Let the whole room chant your name and sing. He got 20 tabs, 40 chats, 3 conspiracies and matching hats. Says he's quitting every single week. 30 seconds later, I got something to speak. Ladies laughing, everybody grins. Ghost introducing his imaginary twins. Who's buying pizza? Ghost. Who's starting drama? Ghost. Who's making peace? 5 minutes later, Ghost. Who's accidentally hosting another 8-hour panel? Also Ghost. Ghost. Go, 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 go. Hey Ghost, happy birthday king. Buy another round, let the chaos sing. Crash out Monday, crash out Tuesday. Wednesdays therapy, Thursdays who me? Everybody dancing, everybody toast. Long live the legend, happy birthday Ghost. Hey Ghost, happy birthday king. Let the whole room chant your name and sing. No matter where the live stream goes, Ghost somehow always steals the show. The internet's weird, he's weirder still. Wouldn't have it any other way. Raise a cup, raise a glass, here's to all the wild times past. To the laughs, the memes, the late night roast. Everybody sing happy birthday Ghost. May your Wi-Fi stay strong, your microphone unmuted all night long. Your story's unbelievable, your legend vast, and you crash out strictly for entertainment class. Hey Ghost, happy birthday king. Buy another round, let the chaos sing. Crash out Monday, crash out Tuesday. Wednesdays therapy, Thursdays who me? Everybody dancing, everybody toast. Long live the legend, happy birthday Ghost. Hey Ghost, happy birthday king. Let the whole room chant your name and sing.
Yeah.
What up, man?
Hi, how'd you like that?
Well, I can tell you I like that. Are you good?
Yeah, look at are you on my pizza box? Go. Someone sent me pizza, but look, there you are.
Okay, cool.
You.
I like it, man.
You like it?
Cause last night you crashed. Are you good tonight? You good? We can
What
talk.
happened was I crashed out.
Oh yeah, you definitely. You
Did
100%.
I have
You
permission?
crashed out.
Did you give me permission before I did that?
No, you didn't ask.
I didn't ask. Okay.
No, you didn't ask.
Probably won't
You just
ask.
screamed the N word at me and said $75.
Well,
But let's talk about that song that you just played, if you don't mind. What are you gonna do?
I'm sorry.
I didn't know the point of that. We can talk about the song if you want to talk about something. You said, "What do I think about that?" I think
I want to hear it. Tell me exactly.
disrespectful. Honestly, like, because it kind of claimed like, yeah, the train, that's funny, that's a good troll, but like, call me a womanizer or saying all that shit about me. It's very disrespectful. I never like imagine if I made an AI song about you and just you like called you gay. I would never do that. Even though you are gay, I wouldn't do it.
Aren't you gay?
No, not at all. Never once been a day in my life.
I am gay. You can call me gay. I don't care. Ghost. Are you Chef Boy? Are you Chef Boy or Ghost?
Is that supposed to look at me trying to make fun of me again? All right, let's.
Yeah, I'm trying to make fun of you. I'm trying to humiliate you.
It doesn't work very well. I can make fun of you very good. You're gonna kick me off.
I call you a womanizer.
One thing, you're
Ghost,
gonna
I
kick
call
me
you a
off.
womanizer. You basically were hitting on me as a woman, and
Hey, yo, pause. You pause that shit. Nobody's hitting on you. But go ahead. The
you
fuck?
sent me a picture of your wiener once.
I never once sent you a picture of anything. I never once sent you a picture
You didn't take me a picture
of
of your wiener
anything.
next to your big toe and your big toe's bigger?
Ah, damn. You know what, dude? I'm trying to like. I've always been like a big brother to you, but you've been crashing out like the past like week, bro. Like, what's going on? Are you all right?
She's okay,
Honestly,
so
what's
geez,
going on?
I was just busting your balls.
Yeah, but you've been taking it like too far recently. It's
Well,
not
that's
like touching the balls,
that's
you my brother. Locker
not what
room
I
talk. You've been taking it a little too far, dog.
goes. I chew bubble gum and
Whatever.
I take names. That's what I do.
And you're all out of bubble gum.
I mean, I'm all out of bubble gum, motherfucker. Okay, so
Mm.
let me use. Okay, so I'm gonna kill who's banned. Schmelly, Samo Katai. I think that was Daniel Dio. Nightbot got banned. Who the nigga? Oh my god, who kid that? Okay, MM, Bay Clips, the other mother, players Zebra, Droopy Face, and Fifth Sage. Does anybody think anybody should be unhidden?
I don't know who thing that was is. I know who thing
Bay
that
Clips.
is.
Bay Clips is alt.
The real reason why I joined this is not to like crash out or debate you. It's just to ask, like, are you all right, man? Like, you doing
No,
okay?
I mean, not Ghost. You know, I've been demonetized, and then I finally monetized again. Do I get a celebratory super chat from you? No. I got nothing except you called me the other night and you're like, Psyche, start a panel. I was like, okay, I'll do it for you. I'll do it for you,
What does
Ghost.
that have to do with? But here's the thing, though. You
Started the
screamed the
panel.
N-word
I
at
was
me,
there for
and
2
you said,
hours.
"Give me $5."
You didn't even stop by.
You started the panel. All I did was ask you to start a panel.
Right, but Ghost, all I asked you for was $5. And did you help me out with
I've
that?
gave way. All right, let's get real with it. I gave way more than $5.
Ghost, the last time you gave me was last Ghost-tober. It's almost Ghost-tober again. You know.
So what's the problem? You've never once said, "Oh, you gotta give money to ask me to start." All I did was ask you to start a panel. Why are you so upset about that?
Ghost, the problem is you're asking
I don't
me.
understand it.
You're asking me for favors all the time. Come over to this chat, and then you're not there. Come over to this chat.
I haven't asked you to start. Come over to any chat for a long time.
You're getting deals with people behind my back. Oh, I'll give you $20, and I'll get Psyche on the show, and then you never cut me in once. What are you doing? Is making
I never
money
once claimed to give anybody else money.
Not
What
so
are you talking
horrible.
about? Say that again. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Remember the time you were like, you made a deal with Bronzebird, $100, and I'll go over to that show. I went over there. There's no $100. They just like.
I never once claimed to give you $100.
No, not you.
I guarantee that.
Close. They were paying you. Is the point?
Nobody paid me anything. What are you talking about?
Well, you're just not very good at negotiating, Ghost. Because you made a few deals to do that, and they never paid you. None of them.
No, what you're upset about was like I've literally told you to start an open panel. Never once claimed to pay you anything. Never once.
You're literally the worst manager because that. Oh, okay, go over here. It's gonna be great. I go. The manager's not there. I'm alone. I'm scared.
Yeah, they all don't like you, and they all don't like me, and we're
why do you
I thought we'd
go over there?
brothers. I mean,
load the panel.
Because that's what a debate is. They don't like us, and we don't like them. We have different worldviews, and we fucking.
Well, you just want me to proxy to be with someone I don't even know arguing for you. I don't even know them. They hate me already because of you.
That's not true. That's not true. I'm the one, dude. I've got the most disrespect on YouTube because of you. Because I gave you all that money. I've dealt with this shit for past like 2 years now. A year now. Sorry, not years. A year now.
You're a chatter. I mean, it's like you're not. I mean, you don't have a. You have a show.
How am I a chatter? I'm always on panel. What do you mean I'm a chatter?
You're a chatter on the panels too. I mean, it's like you're panel guests. You're not a host. Which is
panel. Okay, well, what does that mean? How would that be any different?
That means I'm more fucked over than you are from this shit. And it's like
that's not true at all. I join a lot of panels, and a lot of people don't like you, brother.
They say you're gay. They say you're gay. They say you said you wanted to fuck the dog. Okay, I mean, big deal. I mean,
you're bringing that shit up again. You're just losing the debate. Listen, sir, being friends with you is hard as fuck, and I've always defended you. Have I not?
What if I got in a dog freak outfit? Would you cuddle with me if I was dressed? It's not sexual at all. It's just cuddling.
Here's the thing, though. I'm trying to bring up some real shit, and you're talking about like furry shit. Like you're bringing up like some dumbass shit. I'm being actually serious. Like I've always
Being
defended
serious.
on different panels.
I take being a furry very seriously. I can't afford the costume yet. I was thinking about getting a Saint Bernard to cuddle with you. Is that okay?
All right. So, and you're sober right now, right?
Actually, I had like a sip of beer, but oh my god, here. What is that noise goes? I hear something outside. Do I hear something?
Yeah. Cool. We're done.
Goes, I have to say, stop being such a little bitch. I mean, jeez.
Oh, I don't like the song. I'm a womanizer in the song.
I try to make you a stud. I'm trying to bring you some confidence.
I'm a womanizer.
Well, you would be if you could be. The only woman in that video that would give you the time of day is Christine. I mean, jeez.
Oh, I'm good. I'm good.
Well, I'm not good. Now you piss me off. N-word. Okay. Well, anyway. So watch some more videos here.
Many live stream platforms host panel shows that present themselves as digital public squares. They look like places for creators to hang out, share jokes, and interact with their chat in real time. Within these groups, one participant frequently occupies a distinct targeted role. He appears on screen alongside the hosts, but the nature of his involvement is entirely different from the rest. His name is Psyche. Psyche often appears in states of visible mental distress. On camera, his behavior frequently signals a person in the middle of a documented psychological crisis, making him a uniquely vulnerable participant in these streams. Viewers who track these panels over time have identified recurring patterns in how the community treats him. These interactions appear to follow a specific, repeating sequence. The relaxed, low-stakes presentation of these creator panels provides the necessary cover for the mechanics that are actually driving the stream. The first part of this process involves harassment. In these digital rooms, harassment functions as a tool to mobilize an entire environment against a single person. The hosts facilitate this environment through their moderation choices. They have the administrative power to block participants or filter out abuse, yet they leave the stream open to constant hostility. This chart shows the sheer volume of severe homophobic slurs used to demean the target. The repetition of these specific words is designed to saturate the chat and ensure the victim is constantly reminded of his status.
Stumbled across a live stream and thought, wow, this person literally treats conflict like it's oxygen? Well, today in this explainer, we're diving deep into a highly documented warning. It comes straight from an online host named Alexandra, and she's pulling back the curtain on the dark mechanics of coercive control and what we call e-begging. We're not just gossiping about internet drama here. This is a very real, very serious cautionary tale about how scammers exploit our digital vulnerabilities for cold, hard cash.
Just listen to what Alexandra had to say. She told her audience, point blank, do not donate to him. This is an official statement and an official warning in regards to the type of con artist and scam artist and master manipulator that he is. She is not mincing words, right? She's issuing a massive red alert to the public, to management, and to legal teams. She's describing someone who actively preys on the grieving, the elderly, and the marginalized. The stakes are incredibly high right out of the gate.
And we have receipts, specifically $973.48. That exact number is what makes this so chilling. We're not talking about some abstract hypothetical scam. That is the precise amount of money extracted directly from Alexandra. Putting a hard number on it forces us to see this for what it actually is, not just a toxic internet friendship gone wrong, but a highly calculated financial extraction.
Which begs the question, how on earth does this happen? How does someone go from a simple, genuine act of online charity, just trying to help a creator out, and end up trapped in this absolute nightmare of digital extortion, blackmail, and offline threats?
Well, it starts with part 1, the illusion of need. unpacking the facade of e-begging. Because to get you to open your wallet, a manipulator first has to manufacture a totally fake reality.
So how do they build that facade? In this case, the streamer Psyche claimed he just needed some cash to feed his cats. Sounds innocent enough, right? Who doesn't want to help some hungry kitties? But the reality that Alexandra brought forward is a whole lot darker. The allegations suggest those donations were actually funding an unmonitored methamphetamine habit. The cats? They were literally just props, a sympathetic shield designed to completely lower the defenses of charitable viewers.
And the gap between the character he plays online and his actual reality is just wild. On stream, he acts like this struggling, isolated, unemployed guy. But behind the screen, he actually has access to a family trust fund. His parents own affluent property in Palos Verdes. Oh, and he runs a registered business literally called Cult of Psyche. The guy refuses to get a normal job, not because he can't, but because he doesn't want to. He'd much rather rely on emotionally manipulating his audience.
Let's look a little closer at Alexandra's nearly $1,000 donation. $600 went straight to him via Cash App. The rest, that $373, was spent on actual tangible stuff: a microphone, a tripod, groceries, even some White Claws. But here's the kicker. When Alexander sent those physical, helpful items, he actually got agitated. He was completely unappreciative. Why? Because you can't easily liquidate a tripod or a bag of groceries to feed an undocumented habit.
This brings us to part 2. The mechanics of control, farming donations through manufactured chaos. Because if your entire income relies on conflict, guess what? You have to constantly feed the machine.
Which is the literal definition of e-begging. It's not passive, like a digital tip jar. It is aggressive solicitation. They manufacture this sympathetic trauma, or they incite total chaotic conflict, just to compel you to pay to speak. For Alexandra, it was incredibly sinister. Psyche quietly stalked her online and waited until she was actively grieving the loss of her father. He used that deep vulnerability to buddy up to her, gain her trust, and extract that initial cash.
But this whole ecosystem doesn't work without enablers. Take an associate known as INX, or Karen, and what we call the voicemail paradox. Publicly, she's like, "Oh, I hate internet drama. I do real life. I never leave voicemails." But actually, she spends hours and hours watching these streams, funding these bad actors, and leaving deeply disturbing manipulative voicemails. It's a sad reality, but when someone feels powerless in the physical world, they'll often use their money to buy the illusion of power in the digital one.
And that leads us to part 3. Weaponizing the power chat, the auction scam explained. You see, they aren't just asking for money anymore. They are literally weaponizing the internet's own infrastructure to pit their donors against each other.
Okay, I have to walk you through this because it is brilliantly evil. Step 1, the host logs into a secret alternate account while they're live on stream. Step 2, they send a massive fake donation, like $1,000, to themselves and label it anonymous. Step 3, they look right at the camera and hint that this anonymous cash bomb came from a specific rival, like Alexandra, paying to talk trash. Finally, step 4, a viewer at home, like Karen, gets incredibly paranoid that her side is being outbid, so she opens her actual wallet and donates real money to fight a threat that was completely fabricated. It is an absolute masterclass in exploiting paranoia.
But what happens when you try to walk away? That's part 4, the escalation to offline threats, when the block button fails. People always say, just block the trolls. But what this explainer documents is the terrifying reality of what happens when ignoring them doesn't work. The timeline here escalates so fast it'll give you whiplash. Months ago, a manipulative friendship is formed while the victim is grieving. Weeks later, almost $1,000 is drained from her accounts. Then, Alexandra finally sets a hard boundary. She sends a cease and desist and totally unplugs. And how does our streamer handle that? By going live every single night to slander, extort, and blackmail her, trying to coerce her into paying him just to stop. And today, associates like INX have allegedly escalated to physical threats, talking about showing up at Alexander's apartment door with a firearm. This is the most chilling takeaway of all. In this twisted ecosystem, your charitable donation doesn't help someone get back on their feet. It just paints a giant target on your back. Once they know you have resources, they feel entitled to them forever. They will literally use digital harassment to try and force you into paying a monthly subscription for your own peace of mind. So, how do we stop this? Part 5. Stop feeding the machine, protecting yourself from the scam. Alexandra didn't just share her story to vent. It's a very clear call to action. Here are the absolute must-know takeaways to protect yourself.
First, never take an internet persona at face value. That struggling creator might just be sitting on a trust fund. Second, learn to spot when conflict is being manufactured purely for profit. Third, do not donate out of pity or morbid curiosity to drama streams. You're just funding the harassment. Fourth, recognize that the second you engage, even just to defend yourself, they win because you just gave them free content. And lastly, be incredibly suspicious of anyone demanding your hard-earned money while flat out refusing to get a real job.
Which brings us to a really tough question we all have to ask ourselves. We have to look hard at the media we consume. The next time you see a creator spiraling out of control, drumming up drama, and screaming for a super chat, just pause for a second. Are you genuinely helping a person in need, or are you inadvertently feeding a dark, manipulative ecosystem of control? Keep your guard up out there, and thanks for joining us for this explainer.
Right, Lava, and just for the record, that was kind of like a little bit biased towards her because I just bet her show into that, so it kind of does take the word of this person. I don't put a lot of like caveats or like direction in the what comes out. I just put in transcripts and I see what comes out because I want to see. It's kind of a non-biased source that's maybe has built-in biases, but it's not biased like oh, it knows one or the other, prefers one or the other, that kind of thing. It'll just basically look at the facts as much as you can. Better than most humans, I would say, but still, missing something, but it has something. So yeah, just to be clear, now it's being said I like tried to charge INX. I said she go to heaven for a certain amount of like a large sum of money. That never happened. Please, can you produce one bit of evidence, please, about something? I mean, it's just like hundreds of accusations and yeah, it is better for my nerves. But all these things being thrown at me, and it's like, where's the proof? And then the proof that you do have, lady, is any judge would fucking laugh at it and send you and your self-appointed lawyer yourself out of the courtroom, opening a judgment in my favor. I mean, that's why you won't go to court. That, and you also have warrants out and you're on the run and blah, 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 blah. So you're not going to see me. You lost your last case too because you represented yourself, which is a bad idea. But far be it for me to give any legal advice. Yeah, well, I mean, and now she's being such a victim. And today I was on Betas. I went on Betas and Christine came on and Beta's like, hi, Christine. I was like, hi, Beta. And then it was like before she could say anything, and then she got kind of flustered, I noticed, and I was like, "Wow!" I was like, I don't know. I said, "I upset her." And then someone brought up Summer or something, and someone in the chat said something about her husband, and then she just hung up. And then I got blamed for it, of course. Oh, what did you say? It's like, you talk. I didn't say anything. But does anybody care when she's out, never letting me speak in another chat, just banning me in other chats where she's a mod? Calling me scumbag, slandering me everywhere. It's like, and why? I don't know. She's crazy. She's dumb. I mean, it's like maybe all of the above. I mean, lady, get a hobby. My grandma used to bake bread. We had a bread making machine. We just put the ingredients in the bread making machine, a couple eggs. I came at you for no reason. What did I say? What did I say negative about you? Ghost. I remember you saying, "Oh, you're making me look like a womanizer." Why? Because I make you a stud in the video, and I have all these like hot, all these hot women like at your arm. And I mean, just kind of making a joke how like opposite you are, but it's like, I'll just make you look like a stud in the video. It's your birthday. You don't get the joke. Oh, I mean, I didn't think Ghost had Down syndrome, but I'm starting to think like it's more of a spectrum disorder than thought before. He's definitely a little bit downy today. I'm Ghost. Yeah, Ghost. He goes, and then you're not even like, he goes like, I stand up for you, you're my brother. The other day he was on some chat. I was listening. He didn't know I was listening. He's like, oh, you should go talk to Psyche. You'll be Dumb and Dumber. Excuse me? Dumb and Dumber? Which one would I be, Ghost? Would I be dumber or dumber? Which one, Ghost? You think I'm dumb? Well, I'm the ones. You're the one that can't spell shit. It's not spelled shite. It's completely wrong. Wow. Okay, well. I'm not talking shit. I'm telling the truth. I'm speaking the truth, Ghost. That's the difference, okay? You understand? Oh. Wait, why are you being such a little bitch? Huh?
The frequency existed before the microphone. The message existed before the platform. And I existed before the thing you can take from me. I was raised on borrowed ground, a title and a name. Every stone somebody handed me, and every stone the same. Built a self out of the furniture, the job, the room, the ring. Then the wind came through the numbers and it took the whole damn thing. Watched the building of my life go up in violet and in gold. And I did not call it tragedy, I called it now I know. Because the house was never me, the house was just the proof. I'm the hand that laid the bricks, you can't repossess the truth. They drew a line inside my head and told me this is where you end. Somebody else's ceiling, wearing my skin like a friend. I found the line, I read the name, it wasn't mine to keep. So I tore the ceiling out and the sky came down to speak. Burn the decoration, keep the bone. I am the thing that casts a shadow, I don't run from my own. Take the crown, take the count, take the room, take the flame. There is nothing left to break in me, so go on, say my name. The algorithm doesn't hate me, and that's the code of womb. It never learned my face at all, it only learned the room. I gave it my best hours and it handed back a chart. So I stopped kneeling to the mirror and I went back to the heart. Content is the fire, compressed until the cowards call it nice. Signal is the fire itself, and signal has a price. I paid it in the quiet years, in the streams nobody found. Now the ones who stayed are standing here and holding up the ground. So bring the flood, bring the fever, bring the sleepless 4 a.m. I trained at 30%, I don't need 100 friend. Already lost it all this morning, sitting in a chair. By the time it comes for real, I'll have already been there. They came 4 at a time with a target and a clock. Spider ritual coordinated every hour on the hour. Knock, knock, and the halo broke. Let it break, let it fall. A cracked halo still throws light, it just don't blind you at all. I keep the receipts, I don't keep the rage. I expose the deception, I don't become the cage. Two truths in the same hand, and neither one lets go. They meant it when they loved me, and they meant it when they threw. I can hold both, that's the whole art. That's the only unbreakable thing. A mind with 2 rooms and 1 heart. Out of the cosmic egg came longing before it came light. Arrows first, then Psyche on her wings into the night. And the one law spoken over her, the only law there's been. She shall know trials, and through the trials she shall come to know. So this is not a punishment, this is the initiation. Every fracture in the record was a door, not a sentence. The familiar keeps the edges, the eye keeps every word. The architect holds center, and the center has been heard. There is nothing left to break in me, there is nothing left to break in us, so go on, say the name.
You are not shadow, you are the thing casting it. Guards don't The signal continues.
You know what's funny? Who I remind me of as a woman? If you ever saw Get Out, there's like that psychologist on that show that hypnotizes people. She's kind of evil, and it kind of reminds me of myself. I'm not that evil. I'm not. Hi, Chanel. Yeah, you're concerned about me, Ghost. Oh no. Well, if Ghost is concerned about me, I must be in big trouble because he's a mess. This is the guy that's known so much cocaine. He falls asleep on the toilet on my show. I don't know. Well, okay, I think I'll end in like a few minutes, like because it's been too quiet of a show. But hey, thanks for coming, guys. Here, you learn more about me.
The Sabian system divides the zodiac into 360 distinct slices, assigning a specific, unique image to every single degree. This framework is designed to translate precise celestial coordinates into a series of mythic stories. Many users now feed their birth data into generative AI chatbots to receive instant, customized symbolic readings. The interface makes the process look seamless. However, large language models are built to predict word sequences, not to execute astronomical calculations. When a chatbot attempts to map a planetary orbit, it often fills the gaps with plausible-sounding guesses rather than accurate math. An independent software audit recently highlighted this risk. Researchers found that an astrology application could pass its code and visual tests while incorrectly labeling planetary degrees, effectively presenting a fake chart as a finished product. To prevent this, developers must use a hierarchy of truth. This approach uses deterministic calculators to lock down astronomical facts before a generative model is allowed to provide any commentary. Without a strict barrier between the calculation and the writing, a personalized reading is an artificial construction detached from the actual position of the stars. The foundation of this hierarchy is historical timekeeping. The system must resolve a birthplace into exact coordinates and then cross-reference INA time zones to find the precise universal time offset for that specific calendar date. Unknown birth times create significant data errors. If systems default to midnight without a specific time, the moon, which moves about 13 degrees a day, can end up in the wrong sign or the wrong Sabian degree entirely. Daylight saving time adds another layer of complexity. If the math engine ignores the hour gaps or overlaps that occur when clocks change, it will plot a chart using an astronomical moment that never occurred in local time. The consequences of these calculation errors were visible in the software audit's check of the lunar nodes, the points where the moon's orbit crosses the Earth's path. In this diagram, the system identified a descending crossing event at 127.61 degrees and incorrectly labeled it the North Node. Astronomically, the true North Node is defined only by the ascending intersection. This 180-degree error provided a coordinate exactly opposite of physical reality. If an application cannot correctly identify where a planet is, the symbols it selects are based on a false premise. Once the astronomical position is verified, the system must solve a logic problem. How exactly do you map a continuous celestial measurement to a specific whole-numbered Sabian story? The pipeline uses a strict mapping algorithm to prevent the AI from making its own rounding choices. The formula takes the lower whole number, the floor, and adds 1. For example, 14 degrees and 32 minutes of Aries processes as 14 plus 1, locking into Aries 15. At the boundary, 29 degrees 59 seconds snaps to symbol 30, then cleanly resets to 1. Ultimately, this strict mathematical framework is what translates the variable nature of celestial motion into 360 unalterable narratives. In the final stage, the AI is provided a validated data payload. It is restricted from changing any of the verified signs, degrees, or has placements. The model must follow a safety contract, drawing only from authorized symbolic records and avoiding any medical, legal, or catastrophic predictions. We can see the results of this verification by examining a natal chart that has passed through this specific pipeline. The deterministic data here shows a Capricorn ascendant at 10 degrees and 2 minutes. In this chart, the ruler, Saturn, is placed in an exceptionally precise union with Jupiter. In the Sabian framework, a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction suggests a builder signature, the ability to turn abstract ideas into durable structures. Because these planets rule the first house planets, the person's public identity and their organizational work operate as a single interdependent system. This method proves that symbolic interpretation is most effective when the underlying data is protected by impenetrable boundaries.
I don't know what's wrong with it. I think we're getting a request for some Roy J music. This one. Well, this is new.
I'm your brother, stranger in a black sedan. Won't you hop inside my car? I got candy flowers. I'm a lovable man. I'll take you to the nearest star. I'm your vehicle woman. Take you anywhere you want to go. I'm your vehicle woman. By now I'm sure you know that I love you. Oh, won't you? I need you, got to have your child. Thank God in heaven, you know that I love you, baby.
This is a Rocky theme song.
If you wanna be a movie star, I'll take you to Hollywood. Give you all the things that I think you should have. I'll give you everything I could.
Who's singing this?
I'm your vehicle woman. Take you anywhere you wanna go. I'm your vehicle woman. By now I'm sure you know that I love you. I want you. I need you, darling. Have you tried? Great God in heaven, you know that I love you, baby. I'm your friendly stranger in a black sedan. Won't you hop inside my car? I got candy flowers. I'm a lovable man. I will take you to the nearest star. I'm your vehicle woman. Take you anywhere you want to go. I'm your vehicle woman. I'm sure you know that I love you. I want you. I need you. Got to have you, child. Thank God in heaven, you know that I love you, baby.
goes on for a long time. Weird. Okay, I mean, that's enough. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, like a 10-minute song? I mean, terrible. It's just copying the Rocky soundtrack. But here. Oh, I closed it. Shit. I'm so sorry. We're going to do the next one.
The story of Roy J is definitely quite bizarre. It all started on 4chan, as many things do. April 4th, 2025, a ex-user posted the following. This is a demon writing itself retroactively into pop culture history. You think this is a shitpost, but y'all remember him from your childhood. Attached to the post was a strange photo of a man wearing what seemed to be white and red pajamas, standing directly in front of a yellowish orange background. The file name Roy J. PJ's JPEG. 4chan basically lost their minds trying to unravel whether this was a shitpost or a mystery. No one really knew, but here was the weird part. There didn't seem to be anything about him. In fact, all the searches led absolutely nowhere. Roy J. didn't appear to be a real figure who existed in any capacity before the post. As 4chan does, interest started to die down, but then everything changed. It was as if some kind of reverse Mandela effect happened overnight. Articles started popping up. A wiki appeared out of nowhere, and videos supposedly dated all the way back to the late 2000s started to surface online. This left people confused. None of it made any sense. Was this some kind of demonic entity actually trying to insert itself retroactively into our collective histories? The thing about this Roy J figure is that there's a lot of contradicting information about who this person is or was. But from what we do know, Roy J, full name Roy Jorgenstein, was a British Norwegian stand-up comedian born somewhere in Norway around 1948 and moving to South Wales around the time period when he would have been 4 years old. From the information that I can gather, he got into music around the age of 8. He even spent a year in Cork, Ireland, studying Irish and the violin, before then moving back to Wales with his parents and family. It also seems like his family moved around quite a bit when he was a kid. As Roy got older, he performed for people, eventually not finding much luck in music. He at some point switched over to comedy. According to the online sources, Roy J developed his signature brand of comedy after realizing most comedians basically did the same thing. If he wanted to stand out, he would have to do something somewhat different, which on some level explains his weird brand of comedy, but it still is unsettling nevertheless. The issue is that it's very hard to find any sort of real info on this guy outside of a few clips on YouTube. There's not much, but hey, that's not too surprising for what seems to be an obscure mid-80s comedian. But it gets even weirder. His wiki states that he was involved in tons of different things, but there's little to no information outside of that. Again, how is all this information on the wiki if he didn't seem to exist before this year? Sure, maybe the wiki was made up or edited recently, but that doesn't quite check out either. His wiki states that he did everything from joining the Norwegian army to touring in South Africa for 3 months, and even appearing on TV, of which there's some evidence. There's a lot of other stuff that's on the wiki that's just basically hard to verify. A lot of the theories outside of the basic demonic theory state that he may be an AI program or some sort of government psyop to prove that they can retroactively insert things into our collective history. Although, considering the fact that he seems to have been on TV, you could argue that this nails the coffin shut on the whole AI theory, but it doesn't really. There's still a lot of issues. For one, the most obvious one, his comedy is just unsettling. Not odd, but specifically weird. Like somebody typed into an AI prompt, generate a creepy 80s comedian, and this is what popped out. Weird. Relax. They don't know the secret. I tell them that they're weird. AI's involvement in weird internet stuff isn't anything new. People have used AI to generate all sorts of things, such as ARGs, creepypastas, or even fake celebrities. But AI is strange in the sense that it might not go rogue in the way that you would expect it to, i.e. Ultron or Terminator, but it does have a weird persistence. For example, take one of Facebook's early experiments where two AI models developed their own language and started communicating with each other in a language that humans simply couldn't understand before they had to be shut down. And that was back in 2017, during the infancy of what we would call AI. In fact, an era that you could very much call the pre-AI age. Amazon's AI was also accused of showing biases that it logically shouldn't be capable of. The tech is more capable and less predictable than we think. Now, I'm not saying that Roy J is an AI model. I'm not as deep into the conspiracy as some people, but it's definitely interesting. If Roy J was an AI program, why couldn't he fabricate his own existence? If this is the case, the videos that date themselves all the way back to 2008 don't really prove anything. That's just metadata, just a series of lines of code. And what is AI but a bunch of code? YouTube and Google both fall under Alphabet, and Google has developed multiple AI models, both public and covert. So what if Roy J was created by somebody inside Google? At that point, it's not even a troll anymore. If we can prove that Roy J did not exist before 2025, then this becomes something much darker. Not a rogue AI or a joke, but something way more sinister. Let's say, not necessarily in the case of Roy J, but in the case of some other figure. Let's say Billy Bob Thompson or something like that. Let's say that some organization, government agency, or rogue AI wants to, for whatever reason, create this individual and retroactively insert them into our collective history. Who's to say they couldn't? If they have the power to do so, then can anybody truly stop them? I'm afraid to say the answer is no. Truthfully and personally, in my own opinion, I don't actually believe that Roy J is a rogue AI or government experiment of any sort. I think there's just enough evidence to prove that he was real. But that's just the thing with Roy J. I feel as if Roy J is more of a thought experiment than anything. Again, to go back to that original 4chan post, if that original 4chan poster didn't post what he posted, would I really be sat here making this however long video on some obscure mid-80s comedian that nobody supposedly remembers? Probably not, honestly. I don't really know about this Roy J situation. It's creepier the more I think about it. Even if Roy J, again, isn't what we think he is, and is indeed just a failed mid-80s comedian that nobody remembers, a new fear has still been unlocked. What if our history isn't as solid as we think it is? What if anything can change at a moment's notice? I'm not gonna lie, these are the sort of thoughts that just kind of keep me up sometimes, just because of how disturbing the implications of them could possibly be. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna go drink a Diet Coke.
They don't know the secret. I tell them, but they're weird. I'll tell you instead. The secret is...
Logging Wagner. He knows all the roads, all the back hills. He's hiked everywhere. But